Good morning and welcome to this Tuesday edition of your Breakfast on Leadership Television Inside Nigeria. Today is Tuesday, December 3, 2024, and my name is Winifred Weber, your host on the program Inside Nigeria. On today's program, let's look at national newspapers and their leading stories this morning. And of course, all the papers I have on my menu today are washed with the developing story on tax reform bills. We'll start with Nigeria's most influential newspaper, Leadership, and let's see the headline. Leadership's headline story today says pressure mounts over tax reform bills. Pressure mounts over tax reform bills. Kano Assembly rejects bills, passes resolution. Zulum advocates wider consultation. Presidency says no provision to impoverish North. Insisted fund Naseni NITDA won't be scrapped. These are kickers to that leading story on leadership today. Pressure mounts over tax reform bills. Kano Assembly rejects bills, passes resolution. Zulum advocates wider consultation. No provision to impoverish North presidency. Insisted fund Naseni NITDA won't be scrapped. The story runs on page 4 of leadership, and let's just see what the story is saying in a few paragraphs. Different stakeholders are pressuring President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the members of the National Assembly to reconsider the tax reform bills before them. Over a month ago, President Tinubu presented reform package to the National Assembly that includes 4 main bills: the Nigerian Tax Bill, the Nigerian Tax Administration Bill, the Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Bill, and the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill. Each bill addresses specific aspects of tax administration, compliance, and enforcement. The Kano State House of Assembly has kicked against the tax reform bills currently undergoing legislative action before the National Assembly. This followed deliberations on the House floor presided over by the Speaker, Honorable Ismail Fagore, during yesterday's plenary. In a motion of urgent public importance, the majority leader of the House, Lawan Hussaini, who represents the Dala constituency, urged northern lawmakers and the Conference of Speakers to refrain from allowing the bill to see the light of day. According to him, the bill, when passed into law, will not benefit the people in the north. As such, the Senate's actions in passing it are condemnable. These are paragraphs from that leading story on leadership today. Pressure mounts over tax reform bills. Like I said earlier, it's also the leading story in some of the papers we have on our lineup today. Still on leadership newspaper, other stories gracing the cover are stakeholders demand Nigeria's restructuring. The story runs on page 8 of leadership. Stakeholders demand Nigeria's restructuring. Stakeholders in Nigeria have called for a restructuring of the country during the public presentation of Senator Chris Anyawu's autobiography, Bold Leap, which was presented to the public yesterday, is a captivating account of Anyawu's life experiences, documenting her triumphs over challenges, including those caused by human wickedness. Also, 2 paragraphs from that story, stakeholders demand Nigeria's restructuring. Come clean on Edo election, Chidoka tells INEC. Sees family members burned to death in Osun. This story is on page 40 of leadership. Biden pardons son over tax evasion charges. And towards the masthead of leadership, inflationary pressures hamper business operations. And above the masthead, EFCC makes single largest asset recovery to date. Minimum wage, NSC draws battle with 6 states. From that, we move to the page 3 of leadership, where we have our stand, permanent fixture. Today's stand is on HIV/AIDS and human rights. HIV/AIDS and human rights. Every year, December 1, the world gathered to commemorate World HIV/AIDS Day. And this year's December 1 was no different. This is an editorial in commemoration of World AIDS Day and human rights, which is the theme of this year's World AIDS Day commemoration. From our stand, we move to the back page where we have Tuesday column with Abdurrauf Aliyu. Ali is writing on GDP growth doesn't mean prosperity. GDP growth doesn't mean prosperity. I'll take the quote from it. The government's failure to address inflation, which has reached 33.88%, means that economic growth is largely an illusion. Inflation, particularly at these levels, represents a silent tax on the people. Quote from Tuesday column with Abdulrauf Aliyu. GDP growth doesn't mean prosperity. With that, we conclude review of Leadership newspaper this Tuesday. For more, log on to the website of Leadership, www.leadership.ng. From Leadership, the next paper we have on our menu is Vanguard. Vanguard says state government split over tax reform bills. State government split over tax reform bills. The kickers. Reform won't impoverish North presidency. Says no part of bills recommends scrapping of third fund Naseni Nigda. It will create more problems if improperly handled. Coming from Ike Clark. Most governors complaining are lazy. Shinkafi. Reform will promote economic growth, benefit the poor. Kogi revenue boss. Plateau begins discussion to support bills if favorable to state. Benue Ekiti back tax reform, fourth committee on consultation. Federal government head on bills process, Ojikalu. Nigerians will bear consequences if Zulum, the sentence is left hanging. And Dixon says opposition won't stop passage. These are kickers to that leading story on Vanguard newspaper this Tuesday, December 3, 2024. State government split over tax reform bills. Still on Vanguard newspaper, EFCC seizes largest single asset of 753 duplexes in Abuja. And of course, it was said that reported that these duplexes in the estate is located in Lokogoma in Abuja, Federal Capital Territory of Abuja. EFCC seizes largest single asset of 753 duplexes in Abuja. Go after bigger fish, not Yahoo boys. Happy Court judge charges anti-graft agents. Go after bigger fish, not Yahoo boys. Happy Court judge charges anti-graft agents. Save the masses from hardship, avoidable death. Archbishop Ugoji. Dozens killed in crowd crush at Guinea soccer match. That takes us to the stories about the masthead of Vanguard. Forex turnover in NAFEM rises 61% to $43 billion. Foodstuff transporters expect soaring food prices this month, next year. Customs soldiers attack residents over video recording. Obi of Onitsha to politicians, stop making Nigeria, it will soon dry up. What a good advice coming from the Obi of Onitsha to politicians. It says stop making Nigeria, it will soon dry up. And with that, we conclude review of 4 headline stories on Vanguard newspaper this Tuesday. For more, log on to the website of Vanguard, www.vanguardngro.com. From Vanguard, the Punch is next on our menu. Punch still on tax reform bills. It says PDP orders urge talks as presidency defense bills. Tax reform, PDP orders urge talks as presidency defense bills. Senators Opeyemi, Dixon, Kalu, reps back bills. Opposition parties warn federal government against using force. Tax reform, PDP orders urge talks as presidency defense bills. Senators Opeyemi, Dixon, Kalu, reps back bills. Opposition parties warn federal government against using force. Just like Vanguard newspaper, we see I also have the picture of the 753 duplex estate that was forfeited to the federal government by the federal government. EFCC seizes 753 duplex estate, hides ex-government top shots identity. This is the cover on photo on Vanguard and also on the Punch newspaper this Tuesday. Beneath that, 2027 APC dismisses threat by alleged splinter group. Robbers attack Air players in Bauchi. Federal government protests Nigerian Army's probe by ICC. Beside the masthead of the Punch, minimum wage strike. Winfuru fumes as 3 states FCT grounded. Federal government auditors probe NNPCS 2.7 trillion naira subsidy refund claim. Federal government engages 3 US lenders for $2.2 billion Euro bonds. Low-income earners can withdraw total retirement savings. Coming from Pencom. Low-income earners can withdraw total retirement savings. coming from Pencom. With that, we conclude front headlines review on the Punch. For more, log on to the website of the Punch newspaper, www.punchng.com. From the Punch, we move over to this day newspaper. This day says presidency, no provision will impoverish North in tax base. Coming from this day newspaper, is still on tax reform controversy. Says proposed legislations in recommend scrapping third fund na Senate NIDA. Tinubu welcomes public debate generated by proposed law. Like PIA, NAS will pass bills, Syriac Dixon declares. Like PIA, NAS will pass bills, Syriac Dixon declares. Says sky won't fall during public hearing. Peter Obi backs reforms, calls for robust debate. These are kickers to that headline story on this day newspaper this Tuesday. Presidency, no provision will impoverish North in tax bills. Says proposed legislations didn't recommend scrapping third fund and sending NICDA. Tinubu welcomes public debate generated by proposed law. Like PIA, NAS will pass bill, Syriac Dixon declares. Says sky won't fall during public hearing. Peter Obi backs reforms, calls for robust debate. Above that, Oyedele will not withdraw tax reform bills. Committee ready to re-engage stakeholders. It's all about tax reform bills this morning, this Tuesday, on major paid newspapers on our lineup today, and even national is all about tax reform bills. Oyedele says will not withdraw tax reform bills. Committee ready to re-engage stakeholders. And Dogara, former Speaker of House of Representatives, says Nigerians should remove cap of regionalism, religion. Above the masthead of this day, federal government's $1.7 billion Eurobond oversubscribed at $9.1 billion, sign of investors' confidence in ongoing reforms. Hunter Biden, US President under fire as White House defense sweeping pardon. The story continues on page 28 of this day newspaper. Is on that note, we also conclude review of four headline stories on this day newspaper this Tuesday. For more, log on to the website of this day, www.thisdaylive.com. From this day, we move over to the last paper on our menu for review this Tuesday, and that is The Guardian. It's only The Guardian that has different story entirely as its main headline. Let's go to that Guardian. The Guardian says Electricity Act, states face subsidy burden as Lagos leads with $10 billion deal legislation. Electricity Act, states face subsidy burden as Lagos leads with $10 billion deal legislation. We have illustration beneath that headline story. We have electricity challenges in Nigeria and state prospects. Current yearly national subsidy 2.4 trillion naira. Subsidies growing at 260 billion naira a month. Lagos investment target $10 billion. Number of states domesticating electricity act 10 plus. Total metering gap 7 million plus. Metering gap in Lagos 617,000 plus. Lack of electricity costing Nigeria $28 billion yearly. Illustration beneath the leading story on The Guardian today. The Electricity Act, states face subsidy burden as Lagos leads with $10 billion deal legislation. Underneath that, Nigeria raises $2.2 billion from latest Eurobond auction. 90% of Nigerians support tax reform bill, says Oyedele. NSC vows to pursue new wage implementation before January. Nigeria records 42,700 AIDS-related deaths yearly, says NEP1. Local council polls make mockery of democracy, Abbas says. Human rights lawyer Dele Farotimi alleges threat to life. Man laments real sector's decline in performance, high inflation, firms exit. Man, that is Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, laments real sector's decline in performance, high inflation, firms exit. The news runs on page 28 of The Guardian. And also on that note, we also conclude front page news review on The Guardian newspaper this Tuesday. For more, log on to the website of The Guardian, www.guardian.ng. It's also on that note we've come to the end of today's Inside Nigeria, brought to you on Leadership Television. My name is Winifred. Don't forget to join us same time, same station for another fresh edition of the program. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080 3688 6158.